Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Mother's Day Paperscape card. And we haven't done a Paperscape card in a little bit of time. It's been a while, but for those of you that have made them in the past, this should be very familiar. The only difference is that we just have some different elements, but the construction essentially is going to be the same. So let's kind of just jump right in here. It's not a very difficult piece at all. So we'll just kind of go through things systematically, just like we do. And I do want to go over a few things here. There's three main structural pieces. Okay, and I just want to point out what they are. Now this is just, I just kind of laid everything on top of, or just kind of pieced it out without gluing it, just so that I know where everything goes. But you'll notice this is the main structure, and you can see that the folds here are pretty wide. It's about almost 2 inches. So that's the front, okay? One of the inserts is the same color, and it has tabs, and that tab is just about 1 inch, okay? Not to be confused with this one, that is about 1/2 inch, okay? This is the back. This is what is going to close off this. You got the front here, side, side. This is gonna be the back. This is really the only insert that we have, okay? So this is not an insert, this is the back, but we're going to be adding some elements to this. First element that we're going to put on here is the little silhouette of the mother with her child. Okay, so you can see how that's going to go on. We're going to glue this down flat. I've got my texture side on the back, and you want to try to maintain a nice even border all the way around. Okay, so let's get that in place. So like I said, a lot of this is just going to be just paper piecing, and then the final construction is really not that difficult at all. Go easy on the glue here, but obviously you want to make sure that you get enough on there. We'll go in the center here, and then there's some little details that are kind of just floating in space here on this little silhouette. So try to make sure that we get some glue on that so it doesn't tear or rip and stays in place. So again, nice even border all the way around. I'm kind of looking at this little area here where we have the cutout for our electronic tea light and using that as my guide. And that seems to be a pretty good strategy. Now we do have a tiny little guy here. Let me grab my pick-me-up tool. It's just a little heart. So we can add a little bit of color there. It's this tiny heart. There is a larger heart. That larger heart's going to go on the front of our card. So don't get it mistaken with this one. You want the tiny little heart here. And we do have a little set of markers here to make sure you get it in the right spot and just press that into place. Okay, so that is the first piece. You can put that off to the side. Actually, you know what? Flip it over. And the reason we're flipping it over is because we're going to put this piece on the back here. And this piece you can use to write your little message, or if you run it through a machine that's capable, you could use a pen to write a message. Or of course, you can also stamp on this, whatever you want to do. But this is where you're going to put your little message or sentiment, whatever you want to do. Plenty of room for that. Or if you're going to have the kids write their names or sign their names, if they're giving it to grandma. You know, grandkids they can sign the back of a mom's card for grandma too. It's not no rule saying you can't do that. Okay, so we'll get that glued down. And now we are done with this piece. We'll put this off to the side for just a moment while we move on to this piece. Okay, so now this piece here, we've got, this is the insert. Now the folds here on this insert are actually going to be valley folds, so they're going to be going towards you like so. But we need to put this piece in place here, and this one's pretty easy. Just need to match it up with the cutout for the heart as well as the little cutout at the bottom, because when we make these cards, we give you the option to illuminate them from underneath with a little electronic tea light, and that's why you have that little area cut out there so that you can slide that in there. Okay, so just get your glue on that. And remember, the trick here is to just line it up with the heart on the actual structure portion. Now it is going to be flush at the top and flush at the bottom, and then of course we want that section there to line up with the little cutout for your tea light. Okay, so we got that in place, and then we have a little gold accent that goes right over the heart right here. So we just need to glue that in place. So grab this and throw some glue on it. This one should go together pretty quick. It's probably the easiest of the 3 projects from our new bundle. Not difficult at all. This one's fun though if you've never made a Paperscape card. They're always fun. They just are very impressive looking, especially when they're done. It's almost like a whole little scene in a card. Essentially, it borrows from the box card concept, but it's just a little different. Okay, so we just got that lined up, and that's really it for this piece. Not much else to it. Just make sure that sets nicely. Okay, so we can put this off to the side as well. And now I'm going to work on the front here. Okay, so I already started kind of laying things out. And here is our main structure. We're going to take this white piece and we're going to glue that down, just matching it up with the existing shadow elements for the little plants, and even up here, as well as the little round part of the post. Just want to make sure we get all that lined up. Now, we do have a lot of little details here, so don't get discouraged if you don't get all of this to stay put on your first go around. We can always use the little painting technique to do some cleanup if we need to, especially around these little plants here. I'm not even going to hit those right now. I will intentionally not put glue on those so that I can just do that by hand using my little painting technique, because I just know that I'm not going to have enough time to get glue on all of these areas and make it work in one fell swoop. So I don't even want to waste my time. I'm just going to do as much as I can. And I think that's about it before it starts to dry. And just lay that down and match it up with the existing shadows on our little minty color there. And just do your best to get that as aligned as possible. Okay, and press that down. And now again, I left the plants alone, and that's probably a good thing, because technically, I did get some glue on it. I'm going to peel that back a little bit just so I can get glue on the whole thing. Okay, so you see how it barely was sticking, and I'm just going to throw some glue on a scrap piece of paper and then just take it and literally just kind of dab the back of it with my scrap to apply the glue onto these areas. And now I'm going to go ahead and press that down. Okay, see how I did on the other side. You know, surprisingly, with as little glue as I used, it almost stayed glued down there. But again, I think this is the safest way to do this. Okay, so again, just kind of dabbing it, brushing it onto the back of this. Perfect. And just press that down right into place. Beautiful. Okay, so there's layer number 1. Now I'm going to go to this layer here. This is our second layer, and that's going to go right here like so. Just like that. And may end up doing the same thing here, just kind of leaving the little tall plant there alone, not putting any glue on it, focusing on making sure that this section stays put first. And then we can always just use that little painting technique to get the rest of it in place afterwards. And that's fine too. There's no wrong way of doing it. This is just something that I realized after years and years of doing this that, you know, sometimes because of the properties of glue, you only have so much time before it starts to dry. And I mean, you're putting glue on something, and by the time you're done, it's already dry, and that pretty much renders your effort pointless. Okay, so let's just get that part down first. Make sure that that's all nice and snug, nice and flush. And then you can go back, grab your scrap, throw a little bit of glue on your scrap piece, peel this back, and just paint a little bit of glue onto this section here. And then go ahead and get that pressed down. There we go. So much easier. Don't have to worry about trying to get it all done in one shot. Okay, and you can literally either just kind of rub it on there, or you just kind of dab it, whatever works. As long as you're getting some glue on there, that's all that matters. Okay, next up, we've got some of these sections here that we need to glue into place. I have to kind of remember where, oh yeah, they go here. Okay, so this one's gonna go here. You can see how it kind of lines up with some of the shadow elements, and then it leaves this little area here because we've got ourselves a little sleeve for a gift card that we're going to put in place here. But we're going to get this part down first, and then that the little sleeve's going to go down afterward. Okay. So get your glue on this piece. And just match it up with the existing little shadows. Nothing to it. Very simple. All we're doing is just paper piecing, going back to the days of scrapbooking here. Nothing too complex. Okay. We've got this piece here, and that's going to go like so. Some of these sections are kind of just the bottoms of the flowers here, and then the flowers are coming out of the green areas. Essentially, I think the most important thing to just look at here is just making sure that you get this section in place correctly. Then the rest of it will kind of fall into place on its own without you having to use your brain too much here. All we're doing is focusing our efforts on getting our glue in the right spots, in the right amounts, and we're letting the project kind of tell us where to go. Okay, so again, just matching it up with these little spiky areas here, first and foremost, and then the rest of the plant will just kind of fall into place. Perfect. That looks good. Okay, now we're going to repeat the same thing on this side. Trying to keep things nice and symmetrical. Okay. Now, again, small little piece, so you don't need a ton of glue. Actually, rarely do you need a ton of glue, but especially right now with small, light pieces like this that don't really take up a lot of surface area. Okay, there we go. And same thing on the other side with the tall little flowering plants. Let's get our glue in place in the right amounts. Just going very easy with the glue here. And again, lining it up with this little spiky area first, making sure that's lined up correctly, and then, yeah, as I said, do as I say, not as I do. And this thing, when it came off the mat, there's a really delicate little area there that bent for me, and it's probably why it's just not sitting at the correct angle. I'm going to reapply here and try to get it together here, Leo. Get it together. I won't edit that out. I want to see that. I want to show you guys that there's times where I have a little struggle here or there. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Okay, again, trying to find the little pointy, shadowy areas here. Perfect, got it that time. Now I just need to adjust this guy and pop him into place. There we go. There we go. Second time's a charm that time. I'm okay with that. All right, now there are some flowers that are gonna go on top of this in a minute here. But then we also have these little floral centers. Okay, so take a look at these real quick just to help you quickly identify which one's which. You notice that the ones for the flowers are a little bit larger. They're a little more wacky. So those are gonna be for the flowers later. And then we have 2 for each side here. And well, you know, the only thing I can say is just find the right one by using the little markers there and making sure that this little piece fits within the confines of the markers. Also, you can take a look at the photo on the website or even just during this video to visually get an idea of which piece needs to go there. It's a little difficult to explain something that is shaped like this and how to decipher between the different ones. But I think by just looking at it and then again using the little markers to help guide you, you'll figure out which one needs to go where. It's not that difficult. Okay, so that's where that's going to go. And same thing on the other side. Let's grab our glue. Don't need a ton of glue on that. A little bit goes a long way. Now this is the larger one, so that's going to go, let's see, is that right? Yeah, there we go. Whoops. There it is. Got it. Nailed it. Okay. And the last one here. So that just leaves, I'm going to make a little flower here. And then I got a couple more little things to take care of before we put it all together. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so let's take a look at that. That looks nice. Looks very nice, actually. Okay. Now, I'm not actually going to glue these flowers down to the front of the card yet, because when we go to put together, the actual structure inside, I don't want to dent or break anything or crease anything. Okay, so you'll notice that with these set of petals, there's 2 that are identical for each set. So we want one from each different variation for each flower. Okay, so let me rephrase that. Maybe this will make more sense. So 2 of these, if you put them on top of each other, are identical. We don't want to use the 2 identical ones for the same flower. We want one of these for each of the flowers. So we're going to separate them. They're going to say bye-bye, and then the other 2, you're going to split those up as well. Okay, now to construct these flowers, we're going to take a dowel. Okay, so just going around the horn here and training these petals, giving them a little bit of a curve. I guess another way to explain it, especially if you're new and this is one of your first projects, just take the dowel and place the petal between your finger and the dowel, and then just take it and curl it towards you. And that's how we stretch those fibers out and tell them to kind of stand up for us. Okay, just like that. And the last one here, same thing. Now, depending on the diameter of your dowel, well, that will decide how much of a curl you get. If you want more of a curl, use a thinner dowel, and you can actually curl it around and you'll see how much more that curls even. Okay, so depending on the kind of look that you want, you can use a thinner dowel or a thicker dowel. Now obviously there comes a point, a fine line there, where if you're using too thick of a dowel on a small piece, you're not really going to get much curvature at all. And also, if you're using something too thin, it may curl it to, a ridiculous amount. Or sometimes, if you use something too thin, you'll end up creasing the paper, and things will begin to look unsightly, which we do not want. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put these on top of each other. We're going to offset them so that all 6 of the petals are somewhat visible. There's going to be some overlap, obviously, and that's okay. But figure out which orientation looks best. And I don't really think it matters. It's kind of just a personal preference. Okay, I'm going to go right here like this. Just put a little bit of glue in the center of the first one, and then lay the second one right on top of it. Okay, and there you have your little flower. If you want, you can kind of pull them back to create some more separation, make it look a little more full. And then we have the little centers here. So just throw a little bit of glue in the center of your flower, the center of the center, and just pop that right in and press that down. Okay, there's our little beautiful flower. Do the same thing on the other side, and then we're going to attach it to the little green portion here in a second. Okay. And just like that. There we go. Grab that. Throw a little glue on there. Pop that right in the center. There we go. Okay, that's pretty. And again, you can kind of create some more separation between these layers by either folding it back or folding it up. I think that looks nice. Okay, so now on the little bush parts here, you'll notice that from the center, you got a little ball here or a little circle. From the center, the shorter leaf is going to be up at the top, the longer leaf at the bottom, but either way, the flower is going to go right in the center of that little circle there. So that's where we want to put it. So try to get the center of that right onto where we have our glue. Okay, we can put that off to the side. We're going to let that set. Throw a little glue right there and try to match that up with the center of the flower as well. And now while we're holding this, if you want, you can actually take this and kind of curl this to give it a little bit of interest so it's not so flat. You can even curl it the other way too. Okay, it's up to you. I would recommend it. It always looks nice when you add some more interest to things. There we go. Okay, one other flat thing that we can do before we start putting this all together, because it is almost time, and we have our little mom caption. Now, of course, for our friends across the pond, we've included a mom version. I know that you guys have already done your Mother's Day, but we've got a great option for next year. Or, you know, you can also use this as a birthday card for mom or mum. So never too late, and not a bad idea to add this to your crafty arsenal. And you know what? I know you may have already had your Mother's Day in the UK, but you know what? You can get a jump start on next year. There we go. Okay, so pop that into place. There were some markers there to help you with the alignment. And now we have a beautiful little heart. There are also some markers on the mom or mum. Actually, I don't think the mum version has a heart, because that wouldn't really work. But nevertheless, for the mom version, you've got, pardon my head here, got a little marker there to help you make sure you get that nice and centered, which I did. Okay, and actually, I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. We're gonna put this, as well as these flowers, on after the structure's totally together. All right, so we are at that point now where we can begin putting this together. Okay, so what we have here, I'll show you before we even put it together. Again, that's the back, so that's going to get glued like that. We've got these 2 tabs here that we're going to glue to this guy here. So this one's going to go here first, like so. So go ahead and get your glue on this tab. Get a good amount on there, because we're going to take that glue and spread that out to the very edges. Make sure that everything looks nice and clean and seamless. Got an email from one of our dreamers the other day. He said that since since she became a fan of Dreaming Tree, her paper crafting has taken on a whole more of a polished look, just because of the little tips and tricks that we go over to make sure that everything looks nice and polished. Now I've got that lined up, and I'm just going to put this down flat and really give that a good press. So we just got that lined up down here at the bottom, nice and flush with the little minty part of the base. Okay, and now we can take this and pop it down flat. You'll notice that that will match up perfectly right there. So next up, just throw some glue on this tab, and then we're going to connect it with the other end to close it up, make it all one continuous piece. Okay, and just like that. I can actually put this down flat, and it's a good idea to actually do this. Make it, actually press down while this thing is flat, because when you mail this, or even if you hand deliver it in an envelope, it needs to sit flat both ways. So as it's drying, go ahead and do that. Kind of wobble it back and forth like that, and press it so it finds that perfect center point. Okay, so there is that. That is adorable just on its own, but we still have one more layer to put in there and a few more things to put on the front. But here is the little heart inset, and that's going to go inside. These tabs, again, you have them folded towards you. We're going to be putting glue on these tabs, popping them inside, and then once they're in there, we're going to be taking those tabs and bringing them up as far forward as we can go, so that, well, it needs to be glued down, but you can see how nice that's going to look once we actually have that in place. So I'm going to take a look at something real quick here. Okay, good. So with this, we're going to put glue on both sides, and it's okay if you go a little bit heavier with the glue here. Okay, because we're going to need to be patient and allow this to set. So let's bring this glue in a little bit, or the tabs in, and just pop it in. Okay, add a little bit of glue, kind of rub off there. It's okay. All right, now remember, these tabs, they need to be all the way forward up against the face of the card, and also this thing needs to be all the way at the bottom. So it should be sitting flush on the bottom, which it kind of just naturally will do. Now take a dowel, make sure again that it's all the way forward, and just use a dowel to kind of press the tab up against the side. And then the best thing to do, again, because we do want to make sure that this thing folds flat, is flip it, press it face down, and then press down on one side, and then go ahead and go over to the other side and press it down again, and just kind of keep going. Right now, it's perfect. It's working, and I think I'm going to take a look. The tabs are making good contact, and that's it. Okay, so that worked out perfectly. Now I can do it this way too. And everything is nice and flush. It stands up beautifully. And I would just give that tab a few extra moments to set, but ultimately that's pretty much it. So now we're going to take, and we've got this little gift card holder thingy. I need to glue that into place, and I'm going to take a little bone folder and kind of flatten out the scored area so it sits nice and flat. Right now, there's still a lot of tension in those paper fibers, and it's kind of fighting itself. I want it to sit as flat as possible before I actually put glue on it. Now we're going to take and put glue on these 3 tabs. Okay, and then I'm going to spread that glue out to the very edges. There we go. Just like that. And you can probably pretty much guess where this is going. Make sure those tabs are facing in. Put this down flat and just line it up with the existing little shadow for this element, and press that down into place. It's just a lot easier to do this, I think, once you've got the actual mechanism in place. Beautiful. There we go. Okay, so we'll let that set, and there's a beautiful little slot for your gift card, which just leaves our little flowers here, and that's going to go pretty much like this. Okay, I'm going to try to cover up. Well, where we are, we're going to go right about here. I think that's good. And you can either glue these down flat. I'm going to actually use a little foam square to attach that. Okay, let me see, is that too big? It'll work. No, you know what, that's a little too big. Let me see what else I got here. These are better. Okay, so just like a little I'd say quarter-inch foam square. That's really gonna give it a little bit of pop. Peel that off. Okay, just take a look and see where you want it. I think right about there is good. I don't want to cover up the mom too much. A little bit's okay. Okay, there we go. One more little flower here, like so. Well, that's the beauty of using foam squares, is they come off. They hold pretty well, but if you give them a good gentle yank, they will come off. Okay, so there you have it. That's it for the card. Very simple. But we do include a coordinating envelope. Okay, so this one here, I've already pre-folded it. We got our folds here, and what we're going to do is a couple things. First off, we need to attach the main part of the top flap to the top, like so. Okay, I want to make sure we get that nice and centered. So I'm going to take my glue, apply it to this tab. Okay. And we're going to take it and attach it to the side that doesn't have a tab on it. And a very easy way of doing that is just taking it, centering it at that section there. Make sure it's centered, make sure it's all the way down, and just press that tab down. Okay, there we go. Just take a look, that looks great. Okay. And we do have kind of a two-tone thing going here with this, and that's going to get glued down here. Just a little bit of this is going to be showing through on both sides. Okay, so best way of doing that is applying glue to this whole thing here. Go easy on the glue here. And you don't have to go beyond the score mark there. Just keep it just in the flap area. Okay, then you can take it and just kind of press this up to the fold. Make sure it's centered. Okay, and then you can take it, again, make sure it's centered, and then just bring it down. There we go, perfect. Well, that was pretty easy. Then we just have to put the large piece in place here, which is very simple as well. What we're going to do is we're going to glue this to just one tab to get it anchored, and just like I did with the gift card thing, I'm going to flatten that out a little more. It still wants to kind of have a mind of its own. So go ahead and get your glue on just this tab. Spread that out nice and thin all the way out to the edge, and we'll take this. I want the V shape facing up, obviously, and get that nice and centered on that tab all the way down. Line that up nicely. Beautiful. I think that looks good. Press that down. Okay, we can open it up. Press down from the inside, and then all that's left to do is put our glue on the remaining two tabs and then just close it up. Because we anchored it at the bottom, what's going on here? Use a different method to create our score lines, and I'm starting to see that it has its flaws, just like pretty much anything else. Actually, we're using the solid scoreline feature of the Sizzix Eclipse, which is a retired machine. And the way that that works is the blade actually creates the solid scoreline by just kind of kiss cutting it. But it's technically still cutting it. So that is where the flaw comes in, if you're not careful with the folding. Okay, so we're just going to close this up now. Got glue on both tabs. And just bring that all the way up. Press down all the way up and down that seam there. Okay, here's your beautiful envelope. All kinds of weird stuff on my desk here. And that's it. So you want to take a look at the final photo of our card. You can see, I'm not going to put it in just yet, but you can see that it fits inside of the area here on the envelope. But take a look at the final photo of our card. I'll put this under here. So you can see where we may have added, I'm going to add some little gold pearls into various little areas and maybe some little bling on the flowers and such, but that's it. Very simple card. I think you could probably get this one done in about 30 some minutes. Not difficult at all. But yeah, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to our YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, make sure you hit that little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, where you can join myself, and I think we're about 28,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to crafting with you again.